the agenda for today's webinar, we'll start out with a very short overview, a few slides, give you some background about Intlock for those of you who are not familiar, and then spend most of our time today talking about web analytics metrics for SharePoint. We'll build some dashboards together, talk about what we can learn from different metrics. So that'll be throughout a demo, which will be most of today's webinar. We'll conclude with a summary. As mentioned earlier, we'll leave enough time for Q&A in case you have any questions. Again, if you do have any, just use the question box, and we'll get to all your questions towards the end. So very, very briefly, for those of you who are not familiar or just getting to learn about Intlock at this time, we've been around for 8 years now. And over the course of these 8 years, I've been focused on one area, and that's web analytics and marketing tools designed specifically for SharePoint. That's kind of the niche that we created for ourselves, and really see ourselves as experts in the space of web analytics created specifically for SharePoint, and oftentimes also focusing on intranets and extranets and how we can really use those metrics, see actionable metrics to improve those environments. So that's a little bit about us. And then we believe in kind of a three-step process in this realm. First of all, monitoring how people are using the environment. Next, engaging with our SharePoint users to really get more feedback from them. And then finally, after we've done the first two steps, moving on to enhancing, improving, and optimizing our portal with the goal of always making the portal better for our users. So if I break down these three steps, again, the first step is to monitor, and some of the questions we can help answer, shed light on, are things like who's using the portal, what's being used, what are people downloading, what are they searching for, what's not in use, maybe just as important are there sites or documents, other list items that no one is accessing. So really we can shed a lot of light about all this information. The second step was, of course, to engage with users. So besides collecting information about their usage, here at the bottom right of this screenshot, you can see this pop-up survey. And the idea is to really engage with users in different ways and collect feedback from them as they browse or work within the portal. And then finally, all three steps come together. So again, the idea is to enhance and build stronger environments. What we often see is that our customers spend a lot of time, efforts, and budgets building out SharePoint, but they're not sure to say, is the portal actually being used? And more than just being used, is it actually achieving the goals that we define for it, like collaboration, like communication, and so forth? And so here we can actually monitor the usage, go back and evaluate if that usage is in line with our goals, and if not, go back and enhance the portal, make changes to improve and optimize. And we'll talk about a few ways in just a moment. All right, so these are some of the main kind of topics that I want to share with you during today's webinar. And some of the main ways that we can improve our portal are through search. So of course, search is becoming a vital part of any intranet or any site, whether if it's internal or external. And we'll build some dashboards around sharing us data, telling us what people are searching for, where they can't find content, what content they can't find, and so forth. So that'll be a big chunk of our talk will be about search. Next, users. I think a big topic within intranets is adoption. So of course, after building out this wonderful portal, we want to make sure that everyone knows how to use the portal, but more than that, also make sure that it gives them the tools they need. So we'll talk about users and find out who's using the portal, what departments have a higher adoption rate, and things of that sort. And then the next topic here is going to be content. So of course, we often see portals with lots of content, hundreds or thousands of sites, whether if they're collaboration or team sites. And then within those sites, lots of pages, lots of documents. And again, we're not always sure to say, are all these sites or all these pieces of content vital? Are they needed? Oftentimes we'll find out that lots of content is just laying around. No one is accessing it. It's not needed. So see how we can get dashboards telling us what's most popular and what's least popular and what actions we can take based on those dashboards. Next item here, also a growing trend. We see that a lot of organizations, that a lot of users in these organizations start to access the portal not from their desktop at work, but maybe from other browsers, other devices like their mobile device, like tablets. And all of a sudden, many organizations are understanding that just because this is an intranet doesn't mean that we don't need a mobile strategy. And we do need to make sure that content is easy to consume through mobile devices like tablets and so forth. And we'll talk about those trends as well. And finally, locations. We'll also talk about geographical locations, multilingual environments, and things of that sort. So there's quite a lot of content here, and I do want to be able to share all this content with you while demonstrating the product. So we'll make sure to jump right into the demo at this time. And again, for anyone who's joined us in the middle, if you do have any questions, feel free to enter those questions in the GoToWebinar question box, and we'll be sure to keep some time towards the end of the demo to answer all of your questions. All right, so we just jumped into the CardioLog Analytics user interface here on my browser. Let me go ahead and full screen my browser for you as well, so you can see a little more of the user interface. Now, the first thing you can see for those of you who are new to CardioLog, on the left-hand side, you can see several tabs which indicate the different tools or modules within CardioLog. The first module that I'm showing is called the Analysis Center, and the Analysis Center is one of two main centers regarding web analytics in CardioLog, and the Analysis Center is where we'll create our ad hoc reports showing us real-time information. Here in the Analysis Center, you can see two areas. The central area is my dashboard. I have different meters, charts, and tables. And here on the left-hand side, you can see the SharePoint tree structure or hierarchy. In this case, I'm monitoring a single SharePoint 2010 farm, but we, of course, are compatible with all versions of SharePoint from 07 to 2013, and also SharePoint Online versions such as Office 365. And again, in this case, I'm monitoring a single farm, but you can monitor as many environments or farms as you'd like. Now, what I can do here in the Analysis Center is select any area of my site from the farm level through the site, subsite, and all the way down to the list library or list item to get an instant dashboard for that area. Let's take an example. If I'm curious about this press releases subsite, we can just click on it. And we'll get this instant ad hoc report for this specific subsite that we selected. And of course, we can also drill down here to a list library or list item within our environment. So if there's a specific page or document, wiki announcement, and so forth that you're curious about to see who viewed it and so forth, we can definitely get metrics around that as well. All right, here you can see our dashboard is loading. So you can see this instant ad hoc dashboard for this specific press releases subsite. But again, you can select any area that you're curious about. And of course, I'm sure many of your portals are much larger than this demo environment. We can always search for a page or a document or an announcement. You don't know where it's located in the tree structure. So here we'll just search for the term download and see what CardioLog retrieves for us. All right, and here you can see the tool has retrieved two web pages. We're downloading them. We'll think about exploring one of these pages. Click on that page and open up this instant dashboard for this specific web page, which is giving information regarding who viewed the page, how many times it was viewed, where folks came to the page, and so forth. And again, we'll dive into a little more detail about each metric in a few moments regarding the categories we talked about earlier. For now, I just want to show the folks who are new to CardioLog how easy it is to create these instant ad hoc reports to any area of our site. So again, you can take the farm, the site, or drill all the way down to a list library or list item within the site. The next module within CardioLog is called the Report Center, and this is where our users will create scheduled dashboards as opposed to those ad hoc reports we just saw in the Analysis Center. Here on the left-hand side, you can see some of these scheduled dashboards that we have, that we created ahead of time. And what I'd like to do is create a dashboard with you and add some of the metrics we talked about, so things like search, users, content, mobile, and so forth. Let's click on a folder and click on New Report. Now, CardioLog comes with many out-of-the-box templates that you can select from. You can also create your own templates for your users. Let's go ahead and start with a blank report. Let's call this July webinar report. And finally, we'll define how often we want CardioLog to automatically generate the report for us. We're going to take once a day, week, or month. Let's take once every week. And let's give CardioLog a moment to generate this report. All right, so here we can see our new report. It's blank, as we requested, and it's in edit mode. And now in order to add the metrics you saw a few moments ago in the Analysis Center, all I do as a user is click here on the Add button, and what appears different categories of web analytics. So things like page views, visitors, search, and so forth. So definitely some of the categories that we mentioned earlier. When I hover over a specific category, like page views, I can view all the metrics in that category. And when I hover over a specific metric, I can actually specify how I want to display the data as a chart, meter, map, or table. Let's take a page views chart, for example. And our chart is blank because we have no demo data for today. Let's take last month. So you can see a trend of page views for last month. Let's also have page views meter. We can move all these widgets around, move that here to the top right-hand side. And let's also add a page views table. All right, so you can see I've added the same metric called page views in 3 different ways. The meter shows us the total value for the given date range. So last month, we had a little over 90,000 page views in our environment. The chart breaks that up and shows a trend over that date range. So here it's broken down by weeks last month. We can cut that down to days, or if it's a quarter or a year, by months and so forth. And the page views list here shows us that same page views metric, but broken down by content within our environment. So if you recall, one of the metrics we were talking about was content and learning what content is most popular versus what content is least popular or not in use at all. And so what I can do here is further modify this list of content. If I double click on this list, we'll get some options here. And we'll see how we can show most popular and least popular content and filter that by content type. Let's take a look at that. All right, so what this list is currently showing us is all content in our site, all sites, subsites, list items like documents, wikis, pages, and so forth. Now what we can do here is, first of all, change the minimum result count to 0, change this to ascending, to see which content has not been viewed at all in our environment. You can see we have all the content that has 0 page views. So a great way to find out which sites or documents or pages no one is accessing, and then find out if we can remove or delete, archive those pages if they're not needed, or if the projects have been completed for those team sites and they're no longer needed, or if they're important content, maybe we have to surface them to make sure that our users are able to find these pieces of content. Now, besides just showing you all content in your site, you can filter this by content type. So again, because this tool is built for SharePoint, we know the difference between a document, a site, a page, and so forth. So if I want to take only, let's say, web pages that are most popular, let's give this a title. I'll call this most popular web pages. We can save that. All right, and then in my list here, you can see I have only web pages that have been viewed the most number of times. I can add another page views list here to my dashboard. And this time we want to see content that has not been viewed. Let's go ahead and modify this as well to show us content that no one has viewed. We'll change min result count to 0, change this to ascending. And we'll save that. All right, and then here you can see different pieces of content that no one has viewed for any given date range. And in a few minutes, we'll talk about how we can filter this to see this for a specific site or for a specific library, which pages or documents in that library have not been viewed. But for now, I just want to show you how we can easily add the metrics we want, but also filter them to show the data that would be beneficial for us. So again, the idea is not only to create these dashboards, but make sure that they're actionable. So regarding popular content or least popular content that we can see here within our dashboard. The next category that we talked about earlier is visitors. And so here when I hover over the visitors category, you can see we have a lot of metrics about our users. For example, we can see metrics like new versus returning users within our portal. We can see the amount of time or the average visit duration our users are spending within the environment. We can see the bounce rate of our users and so forth. Let's add, for example, a list of unique users to our dashboard. And then here in our list of unique users, you'll see two ways that we can display the users. Here the first group of users are showing their IP address. So that would be relevant if this was a public-facing website and your users were anonymous. But as I scroll down a little, you can see that Katie, Hannah, and so forth, we can see all of their usernames from Active Directory because, of course, in an intranet or extranet, all the users are authenticated, and we see their actual usernames. So the idea here is that we can see our top users and identify who are our SharePoint evangelists, who are really our top users within the portal. And then we can also flip this around to see who has very few pages, to see who we have to improve the adoption rate with and might need to offer training and so forth. So the idea here is to really be able to identify right away who are our top users, who are kind of our laggers, who might need a little more training. And instead of seeing this by specific users, we can also see this by user groups. So what we see is that many organizations, they tackle adoption from the perspective of the entire organization. But here very quickly we can see that the R&D, sales, and QA folks are using the portal quite a bit. And then if we scroll down a little, we can see some of our other users are using the portal not as often. So again, we can target things like training for these user groups who are not using the environment as often. So again, the idea is to create metrics that are actionable that let us go and take next steps in order to improve and optimize our portal. So that was up to now content and users. The next item that we had on our list was search. And here we can see a lot of metrics that we offer around search. So again, search is very, very vital. And regardless if you're using the out-of-the-box SharePoint search, fast search engine, or any other search engine within your intranet or any site you have, whether it's intranet, extranet, or public-facing website, we have a lot of metrics here around how users are engaging with your search engine. So the first metric you can see here is a trend over time of searches, so the total number of searches performed by your users. And of course, we can see shifts and changes based on any changes you're making to search. Another key metric we have here is called visits with on-site search. So you can see how many visits to your portal include search in them versus visits to the portal that do not include any interaction with search. Next, we have a metric called the on-site search origin pages. So here we can identify what page in specific users are using search on. Oftentimes our customers will call these the troublesome pages because it's often the page that people can't find the content they would expect to find on that page. You need to go back and maybe add content there or change content to make sure users find content they would expect to see on that page. Let's go ahead and add a metric called on-site search phrases. And here we can see the actual search terms or phrases our users are searching for within our portal. We can see how many times each phrase or term was searched for, how many results retrieved, and how many times one of the results was clicked on as well. Another metric that we have in search is called failed search phrases. Let's add that to our dashboard as well. So in this case, you can see that enterprise was searched for 889 times, but it retrieves 0 results. So a lot of users are spending a lot of time searching for this content, but they can't actually find it. So again, a very actionable. Go back, see why we're not retrieving any results for enterprise, and then save our users a lot of time that they up till now have been using to search for that content. So that was the search category that we had discussed earlier. The next category that we talked about was mobile trends. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of organizations do see that their users are starting to access the portal through their mobile devices, tablets, and so forth. And so here we can add metrics like browsers and operating systems. To see if there are different mobile trends. We can see this as a list, as you can see here. Or if you want, we can add this as a chart as well. All right, so you can see the different operating systems. We can, of course, change the look and feel of this chart. So if you don't want it to be column, we can go back here and change this to, let's take a pie chart. All right, so we can view that in this way. And again, the idea is to simply help us identify if we do need a mobile strategy. Do we have to create content that would be easy to access via mobile device and on the go? Or are all of our users accessing the portal through their desktops, in which case we don't even have to worry about any kind of mobile strategy. Now, a few more metrics that we have here. We spoke about content and users, search, and mobile. A few more metrics that we can add. The first is navigation. In navigation, we have a lot of metrics around how our users are navigating through the portal. So things like landing and exit pages, which are where users are starting out the browsing visit, and exit pages where they're leaving the site or closing the browser. In previous and next pages, we get just that. So for any page, let's say our home page, if you want to find out where folks are going to next, we'll just add the next page's metric. We can identify what's most popular as a next step and what's least popular on that home page. So are there specific buttons or links that are taking up very important real estate on the home page that are actually not needed? We can remove those links and swap them with links that might be a little more popular with our users. So that's the next page's metric. We also have a metric here called external destinations. Here, if you have links within your site to outside sites, let's say to YouTube videos or to CNN articles and so forth, if you're familiar with tools like Google Analytics, you actually have to add some code to each one of those external links. Here with CardioLog, you can actually track all those links out of the box without any need to add any code to them. And then if you want to see a few steps in the journey of your users, let's go ahead and add the entrance path report. And here we're able to see a few steps in the journey of our users, and we'll populate this in just a few moments and see what that looks like. Another category that we offer is called traffic sources, and this is a little more relevant for public-facing websites. So of course, helps marketers identify how users are arriving at their site with things like search engines and referring sites, referring blogs, and different campaigns they're launching in Facebook, email campaigns, Twitter, and so forth. So we can definitely track that as well. But again, because we're focusing more on an intranet in this webinar, we'll skip this set of metrics and go on to the next one, which is called portal growth. And here we have a lot of metrics to go one step beyond just usage. So of course in SharePoint, very different actions between viewing content, contributing content, and modifying content. And here in CardioLog, because this tool is built for SharePoint, we can show you not only who viewed content, but who contributed content, who modified content, and besides which content is most popular and least popular, show you which content has been modified as well. And going one step beyond web analytics, we can also see information like content size, portal inventory, growth trends, and other administrative information like that. Now, once I've added these metrics, we can easily customize each widget. So I showed you how we can customize the charts to turn them into pie chart, things of that sort. We can customize these lists to show us most popular, least popular content. And then at the top of our dashboard, we have preferences for our dashboard. We can select, first of all, the date range. And here we can select a predefined date range, such as this week, last month, this quarter, or customize that and take 2 dates. So you can see that here. We can take 2 dates or the past 20 days, for example, or the past 90 days, as often as you'd like. The next filter that we have is called the website item, or the area of the portal you want this dashboard to report on. So very similar to what we saw in the Analysis Center, you can see the entire hierarchy of your SharePoint environment. And what I can do is select the area I want to report on. I can take a single area or a few areas, as I'm doing now. It can be the farm, sites, some lists, libraries, and even specific list items that you want to report on. In this case, we'll take just the XTech site and have this dashboard for the XTech site collection. We'll hit OK. The next preference is going to be users and groups. So are there specific users you want to view in this dashboard, or groups of users? In this case, I'll be showing data only for users in my administrators and my enterprise admins user groups. But I can also exclude users or groups of users. In this case, I'll be showing data for all users in our environment, except for those in the administrators AD group. So very, very easy to decide who you want to include or exclude from your dashboard. And then the final preference here, besides groups, we can also filter our dashboards by different user attributes. So things like department, region. Here we have things like job title. You can see company name here at the bottom of my preferences. So the idea is to really be able to import all this data we have about our users and simply filter our dashboards either by area of the portal or by users in the portal as well. Let's regenerate our dashboard to see data just for that XTech site that we selected earlier. And then we'll see how we can generate this dashboard and share it with our colleagues as well. All right, so we're going to hit Generate Report here at the top of our dashboard. And then I'll transform our report from edit mode into a generated mode. And we'll just give that another moment to load for us. All right, there we go. So here we have our report in a generated mode. All right, and then at the top of our dashboard, you can see the title we gave earlier. You can see the site that we're reporting on. In this case, it's the XTech site collection. And then, of course, all the metrics that we added in the categories that we talked about, things like search, users, content, and so forth. We can see all the different metrics right here. Now, within this dashboard, we can see a high-level overview of our site, of the XTech site. But a neat feature that we offer is called a drill-down feature, where if you see this list of content here, this list of users, in this case, we can see that the About Us page has been viewed over 1,000 times. We want more information. We might want more information as to where people came to this page from, or where they went to next, or who viewed that page, what they searched for on that page, and so forth. Same thing for these users. If I scroll down a bit to see an authenticated user, here we can see Katie has 72 page views. But again, the question is, what specifically has Katie been viewing? How often is she accessing the portal, and so forth? Let's click on Katie to open up a dashboard for her. Let's also open up a dashboard for the About Us page while Katie is loading. And we'll take a look how we can see more details about this user or the specific page. All right. And here we can see this instant dashboard for this user named Katie Hudson. This is a template that comes out of the box, but of course, you could define what metrics you want to see within the dashboard. So again, here we can see with Katie over the past month what days she accessed the portal, how many times. We can see the number of visits she had, number of page views, and also see exactly which content she searched for. But again, you can add all the metrics we saw earlier, such as the search phrases Katie has been searching for, the number of times she searched, and so forth. So the idea is to get more information about this specific user. Let's go to our page drill down. So you can see the About Us page. We can see where people came from to this page, where they went to next, how many page views. A little glitch in our demo environment. We should see the actual user names here who actually viewed this page. But again, the idea is to really be able to get more details about this individual user, or in this case, the individual page. And again, this could be any item. It could be an announcement, a document, a wiki, a blog, and so forth. So that's the drill down feature. And if we jump back into our dashboard, at the top of our dashboard, there are a few ways that we can also share the data with our colleagues. First of all, we can export to PDF or to CSV for Excel to see the raw data in Excel. We can send this right now to a colleague of ours, or more interesting, we can create a distribution list. So again, this dashboard is for the XTech site collection. If we have, let's say, 6 different owners to this XTech site, we can add their 6 email addresses right here. And then once a day, once a week, or once a month, we can have this dashboard automatically distribute to those 5 or 6 owners. So there's no need for me as the creator, them as the consumers of the dashboard, to take any actions. they'll get the dashboards automatically once a day, week, or month right in their inbox. And because this tool is built for SharePoint, we can also create a web part out of any metric you see here that'll create a DWP file for us that we can simply import into any page within SharePoint, and we can then view all these metrics right within our SharePoint pages. And of course, that web part is constantly updated with data, so every day when I browse to the page with the metric, we'll see an updated chart meter table, which is accurate for that day. So I was able to emphasize here, A, how easy it is for a user to take a blank dashboard and add the metrics that he or she might want, but B, also the ways that we can share the dashboards with our colleagues through distribution list, web parts, and so forth. Now, more than just being easy to create the dashboard, it's also very easy to duplicate them. So again, this dashboard is for the X-Tech site. If the owners from another site are jealous because they want metrics for their site as well, you don't have to start from scratch. You can simply duplicate this dashboard that we just built. We'll click on Copy here. We'll give this report a slightly different name. We'll call this July webinar number 2. We'll define their site, or their farm, or their sub-site, whatever they want to report on. Let's say it's a specific list, or let's take the sub-site. And we'll keep this in the same folder. And we'll hit OK. Let's go ahead and edit this new dashboard. And here we'll be able to see the same exact dashboard we just built together, but already pointing or showing data for that press releases sub-site instead of that X-Tech site. So you can see it's already showing us data for that. We'll just hit Generate Report here. And now all we need to do is either create a distribution list with the owners of this press release site, or create a web part to view that data right there. Let's give some just another moment to load completely. All right, but the idea again, the same dashboard we just built together by adding the metrics from the Add button, dragging them to the place that we want, are all here, but in this case showing us data for that press releases sub-site. So that was the first area of the tool, which is all about collecting data and understanding how the portal is being used, whether who's using, what content they're using, what they're searching for, and how they're accessing through what devices. So of course that was the first area of the tool. Moving on to the next area that we called engagement, we'll jump into the Voice of Customer tool. This is a tool that we built based on feedback from our customers who said that they can't collect all the feedback they want with the help of web analytics and need an additional tool to help them. And here, if I jump into this SharePoint page, as I scroll up and down this page, at the bottom right, you can see this survey that we have within the page. And the idea is to really collect real-time feedback from our users as they browse our SharePoint pages. Here's another example for a survey. You can see we have here both multiple choice questions and open text-based answered questions. And again, the idea is to allow our users to give us feedback about the portal or anything else you want to get feedback about, and anything else in the organization in real time as they browse the portal. Now, very similar to the analytics portion, one of the keys here was to make sure that this is very easy to use even for non-IT users who want to create new surveys. And let's just quickly see how we can create a new survey. All I do as a user is click here and select the page or pages we want the survey to appear on. Next, we'll define who should view the survey. Is it everyone who views that page, or is it just a specific group of users? So for example, we can have 2 surveys on the same page, one only for users from a specific department, let's say from our marketing team, and the other survey only for users from our sales team or for 2 different regions, and have the questions there be relevant for each region or department. So you can see we can segment our surveys by specific groups of users that can be based on Active Directory SharePoint profiles. Next, we'll define the appearance, where we want the survey to appear from, the top, the bottom, the center of the screen, and the color scheme of that survey. And then next step would be to enter the questions we want to appear within the survey. Here we can add as many questions as we want and define if the survey will be multiple choice, and if so, we can add as many answers to that multiple choice question as we want, or if it's going to be open text-based answer as well. And then finally, we'll define what happens after someone submits the survey. Will they see a thank you message? Will they see the results their colleague submitted? Will they see, or another option would be to open a new tab for them. So the idea is if someone clicks on no, they were not able to find what they're looking for, we can open up a new tab with our search or support page to really engage with users and help them find the content that they are looking for. And then, of course, we can have different things happen based on what the user's answer is. So if they click on yes, we can show them a thank you message. If they click on no, we can have a new tab open for them. And then, of course, we can also view the answers right here. All right, so here in the survey, you can see for the multiple choice questions how many times each option was submitted. And if it's open text-based answers, you can see the actual answers that the user typed in. So here we have, I love the intranet, and great intranet, and so forth. So really very easy to view what our users, the feedback that our users are providing us with. So again, the idea is not only to monitor and collect data with analytics, but also engage with users and collect more feedback from them as they browse the portal. A few more areas that we have that I'd like to share with you around engagement are, first of all, segments. So I mentioned a few times during the course of the demonstration that we can define segments based on our AD groups or our SharePoint profiles, user groups, and so forth. But we can also create additional segments such as, or based on, how the person arrives at the site based on their traffic source, based on their behavior on our site. So I know who has, let's say, visited the portal more than a certain number of times, or visited a specific page more than X times, or viewed a page for more than, let's say, 30 seconds. And then, for example, we can define that a survey will appear for anyone who's been on that page for at least 30 seconds. So the idea here is that all the modules that I'm sharing with you are all connected. So you can create these segments here and use them either in the analytics portion or in the surveys portion of the tool. 2 other modules that we have here are called A/B testing, where you can test out content. And we can also have behavioral targeting here, which allows us to show targeted content users based on who they are. So for example, we can have web part A appear to all users from a specific segment or AD group, and then web part B appear for all users on the same page, but from a different AD group or segment. And that can be, again, that can be a web part that you want to change. It can be a video, an image, text, and anything you want to change there. We can change here within behavioral targeting. The next area of CardioLog is called acquisition, and the 2 areas I want to focus on here. One is campaigns. And the idea here, whether if you're sending out a marketing campaign to your customers or if it's a newsletter to your employees, oftentimes we'll want to track if those campaigns are effective or being used at all. And so here what I can do, again, just to emphasize, the key here is ease of use for the end user. So if I'm building a new campaign and I want to have a link to this landing page in SharePoint, all I have to do is paste the URL of that landing page. And as you know, oftentimes that URL in SharePoint can be very, very long. What we can do is create short, friendly tracking links right here. So in this case, our domain is called intlock.com, but this will be branded around your domain. And instead of getting a random URL like you would receive in Bitly or in other URL shortening tools, here you can actually add any suffix you want to your short tracking link. In this case, this is a CO newsletter. So I'm going to add /CO. I'll paste this intlock.com/CO link in my employee newsletter. Anyone who clicks on it will be redirected to this landing page, and we can track, of course, how many folks clicked on that link. So again, very easy to use, great for giving us metrics about that campaign if it's being accessed, and then also instead of getting a random URL based on another company's branding, this will be branded around your domain, and you can add any suffix that you want. And then the next tool acquisition is called an SEO tool. Now, while very popular with our public-facing website customers, we found a lot of value for it for the intranet as well. And the things we can provide here, for example, are broken links that we can identify. We can identify slow pages within the environment. So really, these are all things that search engines are penalizing marketers for, but of course also very relevant to identify on an intranet as well. So this is the acquisition portion of the tool. And then finally, just to conclude, here in the administration panel, I'll just show you a few features that we have here. First of all, roles and permissions. You can define roles for different users so that not all users can access all the tabs that we see here on the left-hand side. You might want some users to only have access to the reporting area. And of course, permissions for each dashboard that you create, we can define who can view, edit, and modify those dashboards. Blacklist, we can exclude specific users or IP addresses, spiders, date ranges, and so forth from data collection. So if your admins are browsing the site just to achieve their tasks and not really using the portal, we can exclude them from the data so that they won't interfere with the accuracy of our metrics. We didn't talk much about goals, but we can define goals for the intranet as well. So if there's specific actions or specific content that everyone needs to consume, we can define that content here as a goal and see exactly how many folks achieve those goals. And those goals can have a few steps as well. And then finally, we talked about templates earlier. Let me jump into that. Here in templates, you can see some of the many out-of-the-box templates that come with the tool. Each one of these templates can be modified, so here with the edit button, and you can also add your own templates for your users as well. So earlier we started with a blank report where we added the metrics ourselves, but your users can also select from one of the templates that either come out of the box or that you've created for your users. All right, so that was a quick introduction to CardioLog Analytics, and also going through some of these key areas such as search, content, mobile, and so forth. We have about 10 more minutes till the end of the hour, to the end of our webinar. So I'll go ahead and open for Q&A. Now, for all of you who want more information or to schedule a personal demonstration for your team, you can do that by going to our website, which is intlock.com, or contacting us. Here you can see the email is info@intlock.com. So if you do want more information to schedule a demo for your team, feel free to find more info on our website or schedule a demonstration for your team. Now let me go ahead and take a look at the questions we have here. Of course, if you have any more questions at this time, you can simply enter them into the GoToWebinar panel. And if we don't have enough time to answer all of your questions, then I'll make sure to email anyone whose question we don't have time to get to. All right, the first question here from Steve is asking regarding the distribution list. can we send it to a SharePoint group instead of listing the users? And the answer is yes. You can use either individual email addresses or a group of users if you want in order to have that distributed. So you can definitely use both of those in the distribution list. All right. Next question here from Kelsey is asking, how much historical data will be stored? How much space is needed on average? Do logs impact performance? Can you filter dashboards? Okay, so quite a few questions here from Kelsey. Okay, so first of all, we can store up to 5 years of history data within the tool. So you can collect up to 5 years of data. And the size, the amount of space that is needed really depends on the size of your organization, the amount of usage. So obviously for small organizations that have less traffic, the database will be fairly small. And for users who have, for organizations who have hundreds of thousands of users, that can grow much quicker. But what I'll do, Kelsey, I'm going to go ahead and send you an email after our webinar with a link to our system requirements. You can see there exactly what the size of the database can grow to based on different usage levels, so up to 1 million page views per month, 10 million page views, and so forth. And that'll give you a good idea of the size. Regarding performance, the CardioLog JavaScript code that we use to track the environment, they don't influence performance. The tool works in an asynchronous way, so even if for some reason the CardioLog database is down and so forth, the page will load without waiting for CardioLog to reply. And then we do also help our customers test out the speed of their environment before and after deploying CardioLog to make sure that there is no impact on performance. But again, to answer some of your questions there, I will send you a note after the webinar with some of those system requirements. You can see the size of the database and so forth. All right, next question from Amy is asking, can you identify who downloaded a specific document? And the answer is yes. We can see for any item within the site, including documents, who downloaded a specific document. And earlier in our demonstration, I showed that for a page, for example, we drill down on a page to see which users actually viewed that page. You can do the same thing for a document and see exactly which users went and accessed that document as well. Let's see the next question here. Okay, so another question from Jonathan about performance, but again, Jonathan, I will send you some information about the tech details of how the tool is deployed, so you can get all that information beyond what I mentioned earlier. Let's see, next question. Ken is asking, is CardioLog hosted in the cloud, or is it only locally hosted? Okay, great question, Ken. So I would say about 90 to 95% of our customers do prefer the on-premise version of CardioLog, which is hosted locally. A big advantage for customers who are using this for their intranet. Oftentimes that intranet won't be connected to an internet environment. And then also you own all the data. You don't have to share it with third parties like you would with Google Analytics. But we do have that 5 or 10% of our customers who don't want their own servers, in which case we do have a cloud version. We do have hosting partners who can host that for you and provide you with the solution. So definitely, again, a majority of our customers use the on-premise version. We also have a cloud offering as well. Okay, next question from Casper is asking, can you identify users based on IP? And the answer is yes. So we usually divide the world into intranet and internet. Of course, on the internet end, most users coming to your site are anonymous, and we'll track users in two ways in that case. One, by their IP address, and second, we'll add a cookie to their browser so we can identify them in the future as well. And then also, if they authenticate on your site in some way by filling out a form to sign up to a webinar or downloading a white paper or even signing into the site, we can now connect their IP address to their now authenticated user based on the fact that they filled out that form. So we definitely can track them based on their IP. But again, if you're using this for a place where users are authenticated, like an intranet or extranet, we can also take their information from Active Directory, from SharePoint profiles, even from CRM, as some of our customers have done. All right, next question from Jonathan asking about configuration for on-prem versus cloud and regarding hybrid deployments. So very interesting question, Jonathan. We do currently have a handful of customers who do have hybrid SharePoint environments. So part would be a few farms on-premise and then an environment in the cloud. I believe most of those customers do host their CardioLog data on-premise, and we are able to track both of those environments, the on-prem and the cloud environment, simultaneously. But again, what I recommend is sending you more data about that after this call, so that we can really elaborate and really share more details about that as well. Next question from Shasta, very similar to Amy's question. She's asking, can we track the number of views of a document? And the answer is yes. We can show you, for example, you can filter to a specific document library and see how many times each document there has been viewed or has not been viewed in some cases. So we can definitely track individual documents as well. Okay, I think this is the last question as we're a little pressed with time, but all the other questions that you have here, I will make sure to email everyone directly since I didn't get time for all questions. My apologies about that, but you all get an email from me for those of you whose questions we were not able to answer, and for those of you who have questions over the next few hours or days, you can of course contact us and we'll be happy to answer all your questions and schedule a demonstration for your team. Let's take a look at Ronaldo's question. What is the log source the tool uses, and does this tool impact performance for the SharePoint farm? So we don't actually rely on any of the log files, not IS log, SharePoint log files, but rather collect all the data with the help of our JavaScript tracking code, and that simply allows us to collect a lot more data than what you would find in those log files. And then similar to what we talked about earlier, the tool does not impact the SharePoint performance, and we have several ways to make sure that happens. One, we mentioned that the tool is asynchronous, but we also have our customers test the performance before and after deploying the tool to make sure that it really is not impacting the performance. So again, since we are at the hour, I will go ahead and again mention that I will email everyone whose questions we did not have time to get to. But for now, I thank you all for joining our webinar. If you do have questions or want to schedule a demo, feel free to contact us. Again, thank you all for joining, and I wish you all a wonderful day.